Hey guys, this is Iceberg. Today I'll be reviewing the new SIVGA Nightingale PRO. This is upgraded model of the Nightingale OG, featuring a redesigned 14.5mm multi-planar driver, a fresh design, and upgraded set of accessories, for a price of $296, which is $200 more than previous model. Well, let's see whether it was upgraded to the new model, or it's just overhyped flagship. Let's go! And before we begin, I wanna say thank you to the SIVGA team for providing these Nightingales Pro for review purposes. If you're planning to order these Nightingales or anything else, feel free to check out their store, and I'll leave all the purchase link in the description below the video. Okay, enough to chit chat, let's get to the review. Look, the Nightingale Pro comes in a completely black box with a perforated texture and a brand with a model name on the front. Turning the box over, we can see the main specs and information about the manufacturer. Everything as usual. Inside the box we can see the Nightingale Pro IEMs, a 2-pin cable with 3.5 jack, 2 sets of silicone ear tips in a SIVGA cover, a comfy and spacious SIVGA carrying case, and a manual. Okay, the cables seem not changed from the original model, except that it got the copper wire. Now we have a core copper and silver-plated copper cable with QDC 2-pin connectors and 3.5mm plug. It feels thin and flexible, but it tends to get tangled, though there is no microphone effect and I haven't had any problem with it. However, I think this is a good idea to replace it with a 4.4mm cable to give the Planar more power. Okay, next we get 2 sets of silicone ear tips in black and white. These are whiteboard tips and pretty short, so when you put them on the nozzle, you get a really snug fit to the driver, which gives you a more close-up sound. Coming back to the shells, they are made of CNC aluminum with a dark grey finish. On the faceplates you can see a wooden design, to be exact a polished zebra wood insert and SIVGA logo in the middle. For me this design is more eye-catching than the original model. And for you guys? On the inner side we see a metal nozzle which is quite tall and about 6.2mm wide, along with the edges and a branded mesh inside. There is also a single vent and channel indicator and 2P connector on the side of the shells. In terms of shape, the SIVGA Nightingale Pro hasn't got any updates from the original models, and I guess that's a good because it works. So the inside of the shells looked smaller and we see a dome shape without corners, which is ideal for the all ears. In my small ears they fit securely and deeply, with a snug fit and don't stick out at all, compared to the other planar IEMs. It's really fantastic how they managed to place such a large planar in such a comfy shape. And talking about the isolation, it's average here, and cuts off half of external noise, but with the other tips, the result would be better. And also I want to quickly mention that SIVGA Nightingale Pro is quite demanding on sources, and you know Planar likes the juice. So in this review I use my standard set, the Fosi K7, Kane Ru 3 and Ru 6, Fio K11 and QDX 5K. And here I enjoyed the decks from the Canes the most. Okay guys, let's talk about the SIVGA Nightingale Pro sound, but first we'll take a look at the graph to understand what updates SIVGA Labs prepared for us. Okay, look, here we see a rather unusual graph, which you are not used to seeing in IEMs that I would call diffuse field tuning or nature detail reproduction. These are not bassy IEMs, because we don't see a core rise in the bass region, and it goes in a line with the mid-range, peaking at 60 Hz, which means that the bass will be in the background. The mid-range here, I would say, is raised with a clear boost to the upper mid-range, which emphasizes the presence of the vocals and instruments, and I do expect this will be a vocal-oriented IEMs. The treble here is wavy, with the peak at 8K Hz for the sparkle and 14K Hz for airiness, which I like in the planar drivers. Keep in mind that these are planar IEMs focused on microcontrol and detail, and this graph is not worth comparing with the DD and hybrid models. Well, now let's talk about how Nightingale Pro sound in real life. Let's go. When I put on the Nightingale Pro, the first thing I notice is the amazing balance in the entire mix. You can instantly realize that this is not artificial emphasized on any frequencies range, and everything sounds very balanced, neutral, and natural in its best sense. As for the timbre, it's maximally organic and natural across the entire range. The instrument sounds real, like alive, and the IEMs provide excellent detail without even overwhelming the perception. This is not classical V-shaped delivery, where the bass and treble dominate. Instead, the SIVGA Nightingale PRO leaves room for all frequencies, while the sound remains expressive and lively enough to not feel flat or boring. And one of the coolest things is the clarity and awesome resolution. Every little detail is right where it should be, like you can hear the finger touching on the strings, the subtle nuances of the singer breath, and the faint echoes in the recording room. The sounds feel like it's arranged on the shelves in a three-dimensional space, but it still feels whole and musical. The bass in the SIVGA Nightingale PRO is very precise and controlled, in contrast to many other planar models, which can emphasize the bass, making it dominate. Here it's delivered quite neutrally without overloading the mix. The sub-bass is present, but it's more delicate and refined than powerful and vibrating. If you're used to IEMs that can literally hit or make your head vibrate, you won't get the effect here. Instead, you will get an incredibly accurate, structured, and musical sub-bass foundation. The mid-bass is moderately emphasized, clean, energetic, and extremely controlled, but at the same time not aggressive or fat in the usual sense. Each beat has a clear outline, where you can hear the nuances of the attack and decay. However, there is no muddiness, smearing, or humming here. Everything is smooth, fast, and precise. Thanks to this presentation, the bass here is quite versatile: jazz, rock, classical, acoustic, complex progressive, or electronic. The bass sounds suitable and musical everywhere. That's why you can listen to Nightingale PRO for hours without the slightest hint of fatigue or overload. The mid-range sounds extremely clean and transparent here. Vocals, for example, are delivered with such stunning accuracy, and you can clearly discern all the nuances from voice dynamics to subtle change in the intonation. They sound neutral with excellent detail and no distortion. Male vocals sound velvety, warm, and wagey, while female vocals sound clean, airy, and neutral, without the slightest hint of sibilance or shootiness. This is especially important for complex tracks, where both vocals and various instruments can come to the fore. The midrange here is not artificially colored with any unnecessary tones. This allows to keep a pretty natural timbre, whether it's vocals or instruments. Strings instrument, for example, sound with natural, warm, and slightly velvety texture, while the wooden and brass instruments sounds with the characteristic nuances such as breath of the wind instruments and the frictions of the bow. However, those who are used to pronounced or strongly emphasized mids may find the Nightingale PRO a little restrained. But for me, this is not the disadvantage, but the choice in the favor of naturalness and long-term comfort. Here the midrange never tires you out, and even after many hours of listening, there is no fatigue or desire to take them off. This is exactly the kind of midrange that people talk about as live, as in studio, as if the singer is singing to you personally. The treble here is clean, bright, transparent, and surprisingly natural. It has a light, pleasant sparkle and excellent extension, but completely free of aggression, harshness, and excessive brightness. They add up perfectly to different musical genres. In classical music you can feel all the harmony and naturalness of the string instruments, in jazz the transparency and purity of the percussion, and in rock or electronic music enough brightness to highlight detail such as cymbals or synthesized sound without overloading the overall sound. The soundstage in the SIVGA Nightingale PRO is one of its strongest points. The first thing you notice is the expressiveness of the soundstage. The soundstage in these IEMs is quite wide, but at the same time it doesn't lose its depth and layering. SIVGA Nightingale PRO here creates the feeling that you're not just listening to music, but in spacious room where every element has its place. And what's really impressive is the separation. When I say separation, I mean that each element in a track is clearly defined in the sound space, with distinct pauses between sounds, like complete silence, and it's just mesmerizing in the Planar IEMs. The sound space here is so precise and tangible that I really wanna call it imaging. You can almost see where the instruments are, not just hear them. The drums stand behind and slightly to the right, the vocalist is right in front of you, the guitar is to left and slightly ahead, and the strings and keyboards are deeper and wider. This creates an incredibly realistic sense of presence. The transition between lows, mids, and treble are perfectly smooth and seamless, without the slightest hint of rips, dips, or steps between the ranges. Comparing the SIVGA Nightingale Pro with Kiwi's Aether, the Aether sounds slightly richer and fuller, with emphasis on bass and treble. They have more expressive vocal detail and strong emphasis on mid-range. Unlike the SIVGA, Aether can sound a little warm with more pronounced bass and slightly brighter treble, making them suitable for those who prefer emotional and expressive listening. In the end, SIVGA Nightingale Pro is more suitable for folks who appreciate neutral, balanced sound, where accuracy and detail across all the frequencies are important, while Aether is for those who want a brighter and richer sound, where vocals and treble stand out, with tighter bass. So for me, both are great choice and depend on my mood. And comparing the SIVGA Nightingale Pro with 7Hz Diablo, the Diablo is focused on more expressive sound with vibrant mids and more noticeable bass, which is significantly more powerful, dense, and tactile. These are IEMs with energetic sound that isn't afraid of size accent in certain frequency ranges. They're great for anyone looking for energetic, exciting sound with a strong emphasis on vocals and bass, and full genres where emotional delivery matters. In conclusion, the SIVGA Nightingale Pro is excellent sequel to the Nightingale lineup, offering balanced sound with emphasis on neutrality and accuracy. These IEMs offer crystal clear, unique and harmonious sound, whether it's classical music, jazz, acoustic music, or even complex modern genres. They provide excellent resolution and spacious soundstage without overloading the sound with emphasis in any part of the range. These IEMs are ideal for folks who are past the stage of thinking that louder and brighter is better and are looking for a truly mature, honest and versatile sound. However, I wouldn't recommend them to bass heads or those who are used to bright V-shaped sound or vocal-centric presentation. They may seem too calm and even boring here. If your target is neutrality, comfort during long listening sessions, and enjoyment of all music details in Planar IEMs, then the SIVGA Nightingale Pro will be an excellent choice. Thanks for watching, guys. I really enjoyed these IEMs and told you everything about them. Hit a like if you enjoyed the review and subscribe to the channel, because it makes me feel like I'm not alone. I'll see you in the next video, take care and bye bye.